Tonight on the Mike Tomlin Show, there's still a chance the Steelers can make the playoffs. We'll break down what has to happen, those scenarios, to see the postseason. Coach Tomlin and Bob Pompeani talk about that loss to the Jets. And the Ravens plan on resting a number of starters tomorrow in Baltimore. Coach Tomlin will break down who the Steelers will be facing. All of that and much more as the Mike Tomlin Show starts right now.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber.
Welcome to the Mike Tomlin Show, presented by 84 Lumber. As Coach Tomlin put it best following the loss to the Jets, it's put up or shut up time for the Steelers. But unfortunately, for the second season in a row, they need help from the outside in terms of playing January football. There are a number of scenarios, so let's break down what would have to happen for the Steelers to make the postseason. The Steelers would have to beat the Ravens, and the Titans would have to lose or tie the Texans. Next, the Steelers could make it if they tie Baltimore and the Titans lose. A third scenario, the Steelers and Titans both lose, but the Colts win and the Raiders either lose or tie. And the trickiest scenario, if the Steelers and Titans lose, the Colts and Raiders win, and then the Bears, Lions, Chargers, and Patriots all lose. For more on the Jets' loss and Mason Rudolph going on IR this week, let's send it over to Bob Pompeani, who's standing by with Coach Tomlin.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Happy holidays to everyone, and hope you had a wonderful holiday season. The Steelers would like to deliver another gift to you belatedly, and that would be a win in Baltimore. Head coach Mike Tomlin is here. Before we look ahead a little bit, let's talk about Mason Rudolph. Had a rough year, got in, did some good things, but then a concussion, and now another injury which ends his season. He looked like he was playing well when he got back into the game against the Jets.
He was, and man, he has worked hard since his benching several weeks ago, and I really just think it speaks to his character. I'm not surprised by that, but it's worth noting that his day-to-day demeanor did not change. His level of preparation and overall readiness did not change, and I knew it was just a matter of time before, the football gods, if you will, gave him an opportunity to bounce back, and he proved that he was ready. Unfortunately for him, he sustained another injury, and that's as much a part of the game as blocking and tackling.
Devlin Hodges started the game, a couple of interceptions. You made the move. He got back into the game, and he seemed to make some good throws at the end, at least throws that could have been caught.
Much like Mason, Devlin has been a guy that's been team first throughout this whole process. He has stayed engaged, and he stayed engaged even in game when we pulled him, and that engagement was clear when he had an opportunity to go back in, and he was ready, and really gave us an opportunity at times to be in the football game.
So Devlin Hodges starts this week, but you have Paxton Lynch, who you guys picked up early in the season, but he hasn't had many opportunities. And practice-wise, I'm sure there have been fewer opportunities there. What do you do to get him ready?
I don't know that you're capable of getting him ready in totality to a level of comfort that we all would be comfortable with. That's just the reality of this thing. Paxton's a guy that got on a moving train. We were in game plan prep by the time he got on board. He was the third quarterback. We had two young ones in front of him. So the readiness of those guys were more important. They had been a part of the team development process through OTAs and training camp. And so, really limited opportunities in terms of getting, number one, a sense of what he's truly capable of in a football setting. Hadn't been in many football settings since he's been here. It's been football-like settings. And number two, just the focus on the readiness of the other young guys who've had to deliver has really minimized his opportunities.
For those who don't know about Paxton Lynch, he was a number one first-round pick of Denver, and then things happened, but he must have those skills. What do you like about him when you see him?
There's no question he's got big-time pedigree. He's got the pedigree of a first-rounder in practice when he's running our scout teams and so forth. You see the arm strength, the arm talent, the size, the fluidity of movement and things of that nature that got him drafted in round one for sure.
Running back situation, numbers haven't been good, but there are a lot of reasons for that. There have been injuries. There have been obvious defense is going to pack the box, which they've done. How do you solve that, Coach, moving into this game?
I don't know that there's easy solutions for where we are, particularly 15 games in. Our body of work is our body of work. I mean, we can run for 500 yards in this game and still not have the type of numbers for the season that we covet or desire. So that's water under the bridge for us. It's about finding the formula to be efficient in this game with the guys that are at our disposal. James Conner may not be one of them. His availability is in question, like it's been in question quite a bit, particularly over the second half of the season, but such is life. But we have been really enthused by the contributions of some others. Most recently, White, I thought, has been really good in getting to know him, and he's got some traits that are a little bit different in terms of some of the others, in terms of his ability to get on the perimeter and his speed.
Let's talk about the defense, because quite frankly, it's been outstanding all season long, yet small margin of error there when your offense doesn't produce points. Last week they gave up just one touchdown, but it came at the very first drive of the game. That set a tone and put your offense in a trailing position.
Yeah, from time to time people are going to make plays, and I don't want to take anything away from the Jets, particularly on the touchdown play. That was a nice ball by Sam and in between two defenders. But we're capable of more than that, and I'm looking forward to getting into the stadium versus these guys. I know our defense takes challenges personally, and we're facing the #1 running team in football. So I expect those guys to be chopping at the bit to pit their skills versus theirs.
That #1 running team is Baltimore. They've won 11 in a row, and when we come back with Coach Tomlin, we'll talk about the Ravens and the challenge of going down to M&T Bank Stadium and winning a game down there, which they've done before. They got to do it again. Right now, let's send it back over to Missy Matthews.
Thanks, Bob. The Ravens are resting a number of their starters, but as you know, it's never easy to play in Baltimore. Coming up next, a look inside how the Steelers organization helped those in need in the Pittsburgh community this holiday season.
Stay tuned to the Mike Tomlin Show.
Welcome back to the Mike Tomlin Show.
Darnold back, looking to his left, and is going to be hit from behind and sacked. Is the ball loose? It looked like it. Strip sack. And the Steelers have the football.
TJ Watt. Oh, my goodness.
The ruling on the field is a fumble recovered by Pittsburgh. It's first down.
Oh, that was a great play.
What a play by TJ Watt. I think Hargrave was in there, but I believe it was Watt who had the sack and the strip and the fumble recovery.
Well, he just gets the edge on the right tackle, and he just swats at the ball.
Yep.
He swats it, and he gets it himself.
Congratulations to outside linebacker TJ Watt, who was voted by his teammates as the Steelers' 2019 team MVP. He's also putting in the work to be in consideration for the Defensive Player of the Year. After the Jets game, he now has 14 sacks, which is a career best for him. And he's not just good at getting to the quarterback, he leads the NFL with 13 combined interceptions, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries. And with just one game left in the regular season, he could become the first player in the NFL to rank in the top 5 in sacks, tackles for loss, quarterback hits, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries. The last player to do so? His brother JJ of the Houston Texans in 2014.
It's quite an honor, and I can't really hide how I really feel about it because it's voted by the players and my peers and the guys that I'm around on a daily basis. So to be able to be recognized as the team MVP is special to me, and it's special to everybody in the locker room because it's not just me. It's this whole team collectively, and I can only speak from a defensive standpoint, but we're so close as a unit, and I'm just having so much fun with this group, and we're still far from done, so that's what makes it even more fun.
When you're on a defense like you're on, what's it like to be singled out?
Like I said, I don't like to be singled out on this defense because there's so many other guys that you can single out. I think you kind of look across at the starting defense and even the guys that fill in behind us. There's so many playmakers and so many guys that don't necessarily get the recognition, but if you turn on the film and you watch the amount of double teams they take or the guys that they take away in the passing game, it's remarkable how we're working together as a unit, and that's what makes things so fun is you can't really eliminate one guy from this defense because there's so many more playmakers.
Talk about working together as a unit. You and Bud working together as a tandem. How much fun has that been this year?
It's been a blast. I think we've only gotten better as the season goes on, and we're just continuing to push each other even as the season goes on. I think a lot of guys kind of taper off as you get further into the season. You start to look forward to the off season. But when you have a guy like Bud and those other guys up front to really push you and still try different moves in practice. I think that's the cool thing about Bud and I's relationship is we'll watch the games on Sunday and Monday, and did you see this move? Let's try it this week and see if we can do it. So just constantly pushing each other and trying to be our best.
Did you do anything in particular in the offseason to take your game up a notch?
No, I'm big on being consistent and just applying myself, because if I could do anything different, why didn't I do that in the first place? So I mean, I'm trying to push myself to the absolute limit. That's why I can't play physically harder next week, because I played as hard as I possibly could this week. So I love the game of football, and I pour my heart and all of my hard work into it.
Well, the holiday season is usually a joyous occasion. It means spending time with family and friends. For many people, it can be a hard time for a variety of reasons. As always, though, the Steelers organization gave back to the community to help those in need.
This is our Batch of Toys drive for the Best of the Batch Foundation. We are collecting toys here today, and we'll be doing so over the next couple of weeks.
Tis the season, you know, it's all about giving, and it's all about being selfless, and you know, it just shows how good character that, you know, the Steelers have.
That's part of giving back, you know, spending time with these kids, connecting with these kids, and, you know, just seeing their faces light up, you know, and just kind of being in the moment with them.
For me, my boys, we're going to Wally's, aka Walmart, to go shopping for kids and donate toys.
You would actually do that?
Yeah. You ready? Come on, for Christmas.
Drum Betters here in Pittsburgh. We just loaded up the bus full of toys. We're going to take some toys around and distribute them around the Pittsburgh area. Guys, when you're watching the Steelers game, you got a terrible towel that you can wave and support the hometown Steelers, okay? Here we go. Got one more stop. How are you? It's about Christian spirit. It's about giving. And what more can you do is to give toys to kids. I think that's the best thing in the world.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame is enshrining a centennial class as part of the class of 2020 in honor of the NFL's 100th anniversary. 3 Steelers are possibly in the mix: 4-time winning Super Bowl champion Donnie Shell and former Steelers coaches Bill Cowher and Buddy Parker. So many of the team's current Hall of Famers have always said Shell, who was an undrafted rookie in 1974, deserves to be in Canton with them. Of course, that 1974 draft class produced 4 Hall of Famers. Shell finished his career with some very impressive numbers: 51 interceptions, which is still the most in NFL history for a strong safety, and he also had 19 fumble recoveries. The Centennial Slate finalists will be trimmed down to 15 members who will make the class of 2020. We still have much more coming your way here on the Mike Tomlin Show as Coach and Bob talk all things Ravens. Baltimore might be resting a number of their starters with the #1 seed in the AFC locked up, but I think we all know the Ravens would love nothing more than to keep the Steelers out of the playoffs. Coach weighs in on the Steelers' final regular season game next.
Keep it locked in here at the Mike Tomlin Show.
The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber. Are you 84 material? Visit 84lumber.com/careers to learn more.
Tomorrow is a big day in the NFL for 5 teams who are still in play for the 2 remaining playoff spots. Of course, the Steelers are one of them, but for the second year in a row, they need to handle their own business and get some help from the outside. Bob Pompeani is with Coach Tomlin for more on facing the Ravens in Baltimore.
Thanks very much, Missy. Next up, the Baltimore Ravens. It's a rivalry game, and it seems like the Steelers win down there a lot. The Ravens come up here. That's how tough it can be, but you have a lot of experience against this team. However, Lamar Jackson will not play. That was a coach's decision that they made this year. But I still want to get your take on him because you guys had success against him. You bottled him up, yet overall his numbers have been off the charts. Are you surprised with how fast he's gotten his NFL game together, and he's looking like the league MVP.
I'm really not. He poses different challenges that are tough to simulate in preparation. Nobody in the NFL has quarterbacks, particularly card offensive quarterbacks with that type of movement. Usually it takes an off season for the league to adjust to somebody with a different skill set or an outside the box scheme, if you will. It was Wildcat, 10 years ago or so, and things of that nature. So I would expect to see a period of adjustment once this season comes to a close. So all those things being said, I'm not surprised by what he's been able to do. That talent level is there. That's why they drafted him in round 1. I was hoping for us to get another shot at him, to be quite honest with you, but we got no control over that. We'll play against whoever they employ.
Well, that next man up is RG3, and he has similar skills also, a guy who's not afraid to run the ball and certainly can run the ball. What do you have to do? He hasn't really played all year. What do you do to stop that guy?
It's much more of a conventional attack. He has mobility, but I wouldn't put it in the category with Lamar Jackson. He has the type of mobility that can create when plays break down. Lamar's got the type of agility that you create things for, you design plays for. So it's a different challenge. But we've been in stadiums with RG before, and he's going to be challenging. Obviously, I'm sure he's excited about having an opportunity to play in some significant moments. So he'll bring his A game, and we better work to neutralize it.
Jackson erased Michael Vick's record, 1,200 yards rushing. They also have Mark Ingram over 1,000 yards. It doesn't stop there. They average a lot per carry. That's going to be the number one issue, I would imagine, with your defense. What do you do, no matter who's in there, Gus Williams, whatever?
No question. You got to be really good at your gap control. The presence of Lamar Jackson in terms of having to defend gaps and allocate people in the run game is what really creates the issues, particularly when he gets on the perimeter and gets in all of that space. Mark has a way of hitting you downhill. So, we got to eliminate the downhill run by the runners. We got to be solid on the perimeter for the zone reads. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Trace McSorley. This will probably be the first opportunity for him to be active. And he's a guy over the course of his career up there at Penn State that showed a real aptitude in terms of some design quarterback runs. It would not shock me at all if we see Trace McSorley in that capacity. And so we better work to minimize some of them Lamar runs, but probably more in the case of Trace McSorley than RG3.
That run game has allowed them to use play action. They've done it beautifully. And their two tight ends have actually set franchise records combined for most touchdown passes. They're dangerous. Who most likely draws that assignment?
It's going to be a myriad of people. It's safeties and linebackers primarily, just based on the space in which those guys work. But their tight ends really kind of in designation only. I mean, these guys get down the field. They're vertical threats. And that's the way of neutralizing you, as you pack the box to defend the extra gap that a mobile quarterback, presents to attack you vertically. And that's what they do. They send 3 and 4 vertical quite a bit when you're in 3 high safeties or one high safety or single high safety defenses. Then that vertical element of play becomes a component. They've used that a lot, particularly with Andrews, who's having an outstanding year. They're going to present some challenges.
When you look at their defense, they made a really big trade and got Marcus Peters. What has he done to them in terms of single everybody else up? He's been terrific in coverage.
He's allowed them to play more man-to-man. They were deficient at corner from a depth standpoint early in the year, and I say that because they were playing without a couple of guys. Young, their nickel out of Temple, who's really played good ball over the years, and then Jimmy Smith, obviously, who's been a mainstay outside for him. They were without both guys early in the year. So they were playing with some younger guys, some developmental guys, and I really think the acquisition of Peters was just to kind of, solidify that area. Well, they were able to do that and solidify that area. Then, coupled with that, they were able to get Jimmy Smith back from injury. So now they got Jimmy Smith and Marcus Peters to go along with Marlon Humphreys, who's a Pro Bowler himself. And so what was potentially a weakness has become a strength. And it has allowed them to apply more pressure and play more man-to-man.
And no one would be surprised if this became a low-scoring one-possession game. That seems to be the way it's gone with these two teams. And you got two of the best kickers in the game also with Justin Tucker and, of course, Chris Boswell having an outstanding season. When we come back, we'll have a final word with Coach Mike Tomlin. Right now, it's back over to Double M, Missy Matthews.
Thanks, Bob. We're not done yet here on the Mike Tomlin Show. Coming up next, Coach Tomlin weighs in on the Steelers' Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, Marquise Pouncey. Earlier in the show tonight, we saw a video recap of how the Steelers give back to the Pittsburgh community, and Coach Tomlin plays a major role in that. He's standing by now with Bob Pompeani with more. Bob?
Thanks, Missy. The Steelers have had a long tradition and history of going out and helping people in the community, and all you need to do is look at their players. It seems every holiday season they're out there doing a large thing. I know you are as well. But you have a guy who could be the Walter Payton Man of the Year. That's one of those awards that I don't think people realize how important that is in the grand scheme of things, because it's named after Walter Payton, but also because of what it represents. And Marquise Pouncey's done a heck of a job once again.
Marquise always does. He's a guy that runs away from the spotlight in that regard, and that's why it's so cool that he's been honored in that way by us this year. Here's a guy that's tireless in the community, not only with his time, but with his resources. Big supporter of Urban Impact and other local ministries of that nature. Just really represents what we all need to be about. I know that we all take a great deal of pride in turkey giveaways and warm clothes for kids this time of year, etc. Christmas shopping with kids. There are many ways that we have an opportunity to engage with our community, and we don't take any of it for granted. We're excited to do it and humbled to do it, and just really appreciative of being a part of this community and want to display that this time of year.
Yeah, you guys get a lot of personal gratification out of it. I see it in your faces, so thanks a lot for that on behalf of a community that a lot of people need their help. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And your organization does a great job. Now the Steelers will focus on one thing and one thing only. That's beating Baltimore, and hopefully for them getting some help down in Houston. We'll find out what that goes coming up tomorrow. The game time has been switched, as you know, to 4:25. We'll have it on KDK, followed by 2 hours of postgame. And that's going to do it for our show tonight. For Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin, happy holidays. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next Saturday right here at 11:35 p.m.